Hello, this is Nightmare Core Pictures from Fluid Script Studios. This is the installation / tutorial video for the Smart Surfaces Volume 1. So we're going to start first with the installation. And so the first thing you're going to do, so after you've downloaded either the freebie or purchased the paid thing, you'll receive a RAR file, a zip file. You're going to unload that zip file. Inside that folder, if you unzip it with WinRAR or something, you'll see a folder called Fluid Script Studios _tools. You're going to take that folder and you're going to simply drag and drop it. Or I'm just going to copy it, but you drag and drop it over here in this little area. And if it prompts you to replace anything, just hit the replace the files in the destination. It'd be perfectly okay. And that's pretty much it. That's the installation process. You just put it into Steam, Steam Apps, Common, Source Filmmaker Game. Now, the second thing you want to do is you want to go over to your user mod and your gameinfo.txt. And in this file here, you're going to add a line, and you're going to call that line exactly the name of the thing, of the folder. So we're just going to take this, we're going to rename it, we're going to copy it, copy the name, and we could put it right here, right towards the top. If you put it towards the top, the game info file will prioritize it first, so it'll load faster. You didn't know that? Now you know that. So put quotations in. Once you have it looking exactly like this, you save your gameinfo.txt, and that's it. You're ready to open it up in SFM. It's ready to use. So that's what we're going to do right now. We're going to go over to SFM. Give it a moment to load. So here's the next part of the video. We're going to run through. Now this is the tutorial section. Where I'm going to show you some use cases on, well, first I'm going to show you sort of applying certain presets so you can get access to more parameters to mess with. Then I'm going to go and create a little terrain type of thing and go over all the types of ways you could potentially make something with these tools. So I'm going to go now to my master session template, which is just a file for, it's just a session for that starts with all of my tools and things like this. Okay, so first thing you want to do, we're actually going to use the reference here. Now the first thing you want to do is you want to go to create new model in the animation set. Actually, before you do that, just swap on over to the motion editor. This will prevent the samples from ticking up and your models will load a lot faster. You can see the numbers going up there. Now, if you type in the word smart for smart surfaces, your thing will come up, all the smart surface tools. And they're invisible here, but they are certainly, they exist, okay? So don't worry if they're invisible like this. If you see them that way, you just pick whichever you kind of want to pick here. Okay, so the first thing you want to do is you want to add your material presets, your material and your procedural presets, which we're going to go into later, but these will give you a lot more access to a lot of what it's capable of doing. So you right click it first and you go to add override materials. That'll add the ability for you to enter materials in the element viewer. This, by the way, is the element viewer, so we're just going to make it bigger so we could see it. Now, the next thing you want to do is you want to right click on your model that you just dragged in and you want to hit animation set. This will open it up in the element viewer right here. Now, the first thing to get the materials is we're going to open game model here, this yellow game model. And then we're going to go down to materials. And we're going to click on this one and we're going to import element. And when we import the element, what you want to do, and I'm going to just simulate this, is you want to simulate, let's go actually back to my thing here. So we're going to find our Steam folder. Let's see if we can do that here. Program files, Steam. Oops. Steam apps. Let's see. Steam apps, common, source filmmaker game. And in here, you want to navigate to the mod, the FluidScript Studios _tools mod. You open that and you're going to see elements, materials, models. Don't worry about CFG. You're going to see elements, materials, models. You click open elements and you go open to presets. And what you're going to see is material presets, a bunch of them that with the corresponding smart surface name and the name of the thing. You're also going to see a procedural preset down here, and we're going to load that in a moment. But the first thing is you find the name that corresponds to your smart surface, which is dirt in this case, and you're just going to open that. And what's going to happen is you're going to have access to all of its material parameters. They become available to you. We're going to talk about all these materials parameters in a moment and what they do, just so that you're not completely in the dark about what they all do. The second thing is to now go to the preset groups. So we're going to minimize this game model here. You go to preset groups in the same thing, import element, and we're going to now go to the procedural preset dash smart surfaces, and you're going to import that. And you're going to see right here that this actually spawned in. And if you make this a little wider, you're going to actually see a little group pop in right here. It's called Smart Surfaces, and it actually has some procedural presets for you to use. And we're going to go into how and why we use this, why we should use this. It's a very extremely powerful thing if you want to change your entire scene build at once without having to open these subsections. So, okay. So now that that's there, I'm going to just quickly go over what each of these things do. And then we're going to actually create some terrain to show you some use cases for how to use the tool. So going back to game models, we're just going to talk about the materials real quick. So the base texture, this is where you can change the texture of the thing. Now the models are set up so that they are let me minimize that. The models are set up so that they correspond to the texture that they were made for. But you are free to change the texture, just that the displacement won't do it for that particular texture. It only does it for its corresponding smart texture. But anyway, the naming scheme, _A is for albedo, _B is for bump map, _D is for detail, and _E is for end maps. And those all correspond to the texture. So if you type in, like, say if you have like the terrain plane deluxe thing, which has 60 materials in it, and you type in rust A, this will actually change to that texture. The way that it's packaged, you don't have to remember a whole thing, like a whole path. It's just you type in the name of the thing that you want, and the thing actually appears. So you can just type, we're going to go back to the thing. So the smart surfaces, they all use the word smart prior to the thing that they're called, that they are. So smart dirt, smart grassland, smart hinterland, smart beach, right? So it's smart prior to the thing. So I'm going to type in smart dirt because that's what this is. And yeah, so if you are looking for the corresponding thing, just check the materials. It comes, you'll see all the relevant entries. You can see I could type in smart grassland A and you get the grassland texture here. Just that the displacement won't exactly match it. Okay, so going back to smart dirt. Now let's say you wanted to add detail, which is to mix in the thing. You type in rust A, and then you have to increase this thing called detail blend factor to make it blend. But you see it's coming in there. It's blending in a little bit. So now you could see. So this is how you can mix and match different textures with each other. So if you've bought any of the other tools which come with a bunch of textures, this is a thing that you'll be able to do. And massive workflow boon to have this ability to do. I'm going to type in none D because we're not going to mix anything with it for now. But anyway, that's what these four things are. They're for the textures, and this also allows you for an end map. Here there's a complementary end map that comes with everything, which is Cumulus E, but this is where you would put your end map. Now, by default, the env map is always off, as in it's always set to 0. And you enable it, you turn it on by going to the env map color. I'm going to actually expand this out just a little bit so you see it. But if you see env map color red, env map color green, env map color blue, you actually type in numbers for this, you actually get the env map to appear here. I'm just going to emphasize this by typing in none A. Oh wait, oops, none B actually. This is the env map. It's hard to see on this surface because it's PBR based, so the reflections are actually localized to areas where they're highlighted as metallic. And a dirt texture is barely metallic. So that's why it's a little hard to see, but you can kind of see it if you look very closely. That's actually reflecting a skybox. So there's your reflection. And now you have a reflective surface. But anyway, on Smart Dirt B. So anyway, that's the env maps controls there. Now, what we're going to do is we're going to go through the rest of these. So base texture scale, this will increase the scale of the base texture. So now you can see that it kind of got smaller. It's because the scale of the base texture's UV has changed. It's gotten smaller. So I can make this arbitrarily small. I can also make it arbitrarily big, like so. The model is made for 1:1, so it's made from 1:1 with the texture. So we're gonna get back in, we're gonna get into those in a moment, the flexes. But for now, let me just wrap this up. So base texture scale Y does the same thing. Rotate, so base texture rotate is turning the texture. Let's say I want to turn it 9 degrees, right? That's 9 degrees. This is 25 degrees. This is 45 degrees, and so on. That's 90 degrees. You can rotate the texture up to, and so this is values from 0 to 360. Translate, this allows you to move the texture, which works on values between 0 and 1. So you could type in 0.1, it'll move to the right. 0.2, and there you go. So you can see it moves like by default it's set to 0, which is the origin. Same thing with translate Y, except it's in a different direction. So it's up and down. 0. Detail blend factor, let's put this to 0 again. This detail blend factor allows you to sort of blend it with $ detail. So if you put we already talked about this, but if you put something in there, that'll allow you to blend it with that texture. You see at 1, that's maximum detail blending. And if we actually go and look at this particular thing here, which I'm going to go like this, the default none D is a grayish texture. And that's actually great for creating a Fulbright mode kind of thing, but only for a specific model. So, so yeah, you might want to use that for certain things, blending, doing stuff like what I just said for now. But by default, it's always on 0 because you choose how much you want to blend stuff with the thing that you have. Detail scale. Okay, let me actually just go quickly do this then. Rust D and set this to 1. Detail, Rust A, detail scale X will do the same thing as the base texture scale X. It will scale the texture in these dimensions, and you could see that the blending has the detail has now gotten smaller. And I can make this arbitrarily small, as you can tell. Let me set this thing to 64 so it's a little faster for. Okay, so let's go to 0. Let's go to 1. So we set it back to default. Detail rotate rotates at 45 degrees. So as you could see, that rotated, just like the other one. And detail translate X and translate Y, they do the same thing as base texture translate. It just moves the detail texture in different axes. Now the Phong boost, this controls the amount of Phong that you have. So this, just to quickly go over this, the Phong boost, the model is PBR, so but it's adjustable PBR, so you can actually adjust the Phong exponent to your desire. which you can't do with other PBR methods, because it involves a exponent texture, which can't be changed. So this, unlike that, this is a PBR texture that can be changed. There is only one thing that it can't do, which is the alteration of, which is the control of the Phong for metallic surfaces, the color of the Phong. That's the one thing that it can't do, but not a big deal. Just there's Phong color controls here, so you can do a global type of thing rather than, that might not be ideal for some things. But anyway, if you're a stickler for PBR, like, if you want exact thing PBR, you can mess with the texture yourself, mess with the materials yourself if you want to do that. None of these things actually have any kind of metal, so it doesn't really matter anyway out of the box. But let me stop yapping about that. So anyway, Phong boost. So let's say we want to change the Phong to a massive 250. You can see that the parts of the model that are soft on D, they'll blend texture to 0. So you could see that the reflective parts of the model, they reflect more with Phong boost. And let's say I want to make this very reflective. I decrease the Phong exponent, or I can make it very sharp, which will make it more sharp. Now, the method that this uses for PBR is basically that the higher the exponent is, the more it closely represents a reflection, a fully perfectly reflected thing. But 64 is, the parameters that it's set to by default are set up to pretty good parameters for the material that you're doing. So I'm not going to go into details about all that stuff, but the base thing, the thing that it comes with when you import the stuff and the VMT by default have pretty good settings for what the thing is. But if you want to adjust it, it's here for you. Base texture color. So this changes the color of the thing. You can see I could change this to a green color, blue color, purple color. So if you are like the kind of person who likes changing the colors of things, that's the color controls. And but the thing by default is set up to decent colors. Phong color. Okay, so we talked about the env map stuff, and that's how you control the env map. Is it's always by default at 0, and you just set it to 1 whenever you have an env map involved. Phong color is the thing that controls the color of the Phong. So if you want red Phong, you can kind of see it. It's a little hard to see, so we're going to make this 250. And you can see the Phong is actually now a red color tint there. I can make it green. So there's your green tint. Let's set this to 1. There's your green tinted Phong. Now obviously this, changing Phong color is a very subtle thing. But anyway, it's there for you. And alpha is just to control the transparency of the thing. Now, the whole thing about alpha is that it really doesn't work for vertex lit generic, the shader that this uses. But it's there anyway in case you need to actually just disable it, But yeah, you're probably going to ignore this for the majority of the time. Anyway, that's all your material presets, your material parameters, I'm sorry. Now we're going to get into the actual fun stuff. So this is the actual thing that the model is good at doing, which is the flexes and the displacements and all this other things like that. So right here, so we're going to go into the sliders now. The displacement actually displaces in real time the textures, the texture that is associated with it, like this. And as you can see, I can sort of just give height to this thing. And now it's it's not very conservative with how high you can go. You can get very, whatever this is. Most of them, like 0.2-ish, is going to be a good sort of height value. And let me sort of get a 256 here so we could see the quality. so that's our thing. Let me go and change up some of the material stuff here. Must have changed the, I must have some kind of end map enabled. Oh yeah, I have too much Phong, so let's change my Phong to original. So this is my dirt texture here. So that displacement, that changes the displacement in real time, how high it's going to be. So I get something really rocky like this, or I can get something really subtle, which is for the most part going to be the thing you're going to want to do. Very subtle displacement for the things. It makes the terrain more three-dimensional, and that's kind of what you want to do. The Terrainify is a sort of helper to this, which adds terrain. It adds a kind of height displacement that is not meant to match exactly the underlying texture, but instead is a generic sort of height deformation that makes hills or more just more height variation to the thing. So here is a version of that. So it makes it look more like terrain, if that makes sense. So you can now see it's got a lot more dimension in addition to its displacement. So it's like, okay, I can make the displacement as displaced as I want with the texture, associated texture, or I can make it just terrained, you know, terrainify, and any value in between, you know. So it's like you can sort of go and so you basically, you know, to make it simple, you have as much freedom as you want to have with this. Very nice values are the 0.2 range with these things. So this is set up at 0.2-ish about, and that's 0.1, 0.5. This is very nice for most natural looking things. That's kind of the values. Now, one way to sort of use this is to use it modularly, meaning you can squish down the sides of it so you could stick it to other models. So here I'm going to copy this and paste it so you could see how modularity sort of is supposed to work. If you do this, so you know this, so say you start off with the thing is flat, right? You start out with a bunch of flat pieces. You typically have the issue, right, of like, say, you know, you have flat pieces, you have these little seams, right? And this sort of, you know, if you're source filmmaker build scene building and shit, you kind of have to like hide these little seams with the models that are out there. The idea why it's called smart is so that the model is capable of doing stuff like this, right? Sinking these things down so that you can actually blend the things seamlessly together, as you can tell. Like that got rid of the seam. With this one, and you see the other seam, now that seam is gone. So you see the seams just, you can in real time, and of course you got to keep sort of doing this, covering it up as you adjust. But anyway, that's the idea. Is when you have these things, you kind of are doing a thing where it's like sticking them together, and because of the fact that you could do it modularly, the controllers allow you to sort of control those seams, and scene building becomes way less of a chore. Then that's why you sort of want to get yourself into using smart services like this. It makes scene building a breeze. In that way. So anyway, that's the modular thing. So you can get pretty religious with the modular. So you can sort of go all the way down if you want, very far down. You don't need that most of the time. Just, you know, something like that is pretty good. Now, what else does this thing have? So it has the ability to make cliffs, cliff faces. So if you got something like this, so you see here, this is a cliff. You can make it look more like a cliff, like using Terrainify and Displace and all that. There is a specific cliff texture, which I can actually show you, specifically for stuff like this. So let's see. So yeah, this, you use the cliff, right? Let me just set this to normal parameters here. Enable this one real quick. So here is the cliff thing. Now we're going to make the displacement go like that and just add a little bit of Terrainify. And this is your cliff face. So anyway, cliffs is so yeah, that's the cliff thing. The cliff slider there, so you can make a sharp incline. Extend base. Now what this does is it extends the base out of the model down, so that say if you do a combination of say cliff and modular and terrainify and all this other stuff, and you're actually going to notice that it self-clips it with itself here. And you might not want this. And also inside, if you look inside the self-clipping, it creates this sort of weird behavior. And so the extend base allows you to go here and extend that out, and it sort of fixes that for you. The next slider is the slopes. And this is probably the coolest one, but it creates little slopes so that you can sort of go in and make hills and stuff like that. So if we go to, so there's slope 1, there's slope 2, and you can go with any value in between these. So you could kind of combine the different slopes to get the things that you're after. And so anyway, that we're going to go into a bit about how these are used to create the terrains that you like to use. Now over here, this actually does a lot of the same functionality as what's down here, except this allows you to do multiple models at the same time. So let's just say I copied this a bunch of times, go like this, and I move these around over here, this over here, this over here. Now in your normal scene building workflow, where if you were to want to say, oh, I want to terrainify, you want to displace all your stuff, right? Because right now everything's set to default. You want to do it, but it's like, oh, you kind of have to do everything one at a time. You got to go to this one, and then you got to do it like this. Okay, now you got to go to this one, and you got to do it like that, and you got to make sure it's the same thing. What this will allow you to do, if you have say hundreds of them, so actually let's make this even bigger. So let's go to 8. Go to 8 there. This, so now there's 8. But you can imagine an arbitrary number of these things. You can actually go and select them all, like so. And then if you hit displace, you can actually see all the terrains are moving, you see? Because the preset is, well, just know that the preset is kind of like magic, and it allows you to do more than just what the slider, it allows you to do a lot of things there. So that allows you to displace the whole thing. Terrainify will allow you to terrainify all of it at the same time. And so let's set it here. Now let's say you don't like what you did. You're like, oh, let me try to get rid of the displacement. That's what these flatten things are for. So to flatten it, so this sort of essentially gets rid of any of the changes you've made with other presets. So this flattens it out. So let's just say we flattened it out here. Flatten terrainify will allow you to flatten the terrainify effect. Now, finally, you have flattened slopes, and now, unfortunately, you don't have a preset that allows you to increase slopes. You actually have to do slopes one at a time, which is unfortunate, but there's a reason for this. There's a reason why you can only do it one at a time, and that's because of that the order actually matters when it comes to putting slopes together. Once you've decided on a sort of slope flatness level, you cannot basically undo it unless you do control undo. It's like you can't, because there's no preset that allows you to increase them again, So basically, there's a workflow where it's like, all right, you select the maximum amount of slopes and then the maximum flex for the slope, and then you work downwards. So it's kind of like a subtractive sort of thing that you go for. Okay, but now, so that's all the presets and the flexes, and that's the main juice for these models. That's what they do the best, is that's what they're designed to do, is to be smart. They're basically smart models, hence the name. Right, so let's go now to actually creating a little example to this stuff. Now this is how you should use the model. So first thing is you set your coordinates to 0, 0, 0. This puts it at the the quickly mute this water. Well, let's just move the water down. Water is my elevation level. So okay, you have what's causing this? Oh, let me mute my terrain plane. All right, so you put the thing at 0, 0, 0 origin. Okay, that sets you up for success. Okay, and what you're going to do now, these models by default are measured precisely. So it's 100 meters by 100 meters by 100 meters. Sorry, not meters, SFM units. So if you were to actually take a kind of measuring stick, right? So let's take a model like this real quick, my cube. If you were to measure the exact distance of these things, so I'm going to flatten this cube out so that's flattened like this. So if you were to go and let's set this to 0, right? So this is the origin of the map that you're on. If you typed in 100 like this, actually, let's do this side, sorry, 100 right there, you'll notice that the thing lines up precisely with 100 units, right? So 100 meters in Blender is 100 SFM, quote, SFM units, these units here. You know, I don't know if these are Blender units. Sorry, I don't know if these are Hammer units too. I don't know if they're exactly the same number. I'm just assuming that it is, but just for now, we just call it SFM units because that's what SFM measures things by, is in these units. It also applies for radius, but we're not going to talk about that right now. So this surface model, right? You can imagine you could take this, right? And you can move this by 200 units in one direction. And now you have a perfectly seamless connection between these two models, between these two smart models. And oh, by the way, I should mention the textures that these models use are seamless textures. That's why they appear seamless. So this is a very important thing because we're going to use this strategy to essentially build an entire seamless terrain. Before you do that, you might want to add a scale controller. So I'm going to add a scale control. And now I'm going to copy it over. Actually, I'm going to make the scale control twice as big. Now the thing is about 2x the size. And now when you multiply the size by 2, now the whole block is 200 by 200. And so every interval is 200. So if I want to move this to the next thing over, you would type in 400, right? You'd go like that. Now if you okay, you're probably wondering why not 200? Because this will only bring it halfway because the root transform is only at the center, of the model. You know what I mean? So anyway, 400 is the thing you want to do. So now we're going to take these two, we're going to copy it, and we're just going to move it like this, right? Just going to go, just because, just move it like that. It will give you the approximate thing. So minus 414, set it to minus 400, boom, it's now seamlessly stuck to that thing. Minus 400, boom, now it's seamless together. And we can actually do this for quite a bit. We can keep going doing this, and I'm going to run through doing that exactly. So this is minus 800. This is minus 800. This is minus 1200, minus 100, minus 100. And we can actually do this, copy, paste again. Now you got 16 models, and we're going to go like that now. So we're going to make it approximate. So now we set this to 800. We set this to 1200. And by the way, you can do stuff like, instead of doing it this way, the way that I'm doing, you can do stuff like connecting a group of 4 together. Actually, we're going to actually go through that. Actually, we're going to do something similar to that in a moment. So first we're going to do this way. So there we go. So now I have a much bigger piece of terrain that is like so. And this is our terrain. So now if we want to adjust, if we want to start doing the cool things, like hitting the displacement button, let's see if we can get some different lighting here. Okay, cheap area fill, that works. All right, we've got a cheap area fill. Should have done that from the beginning. I'm sorry. Okay, so we're going to take all of these, and now we're going to add a displacement amount to it. So let's just go with a point, something like that. We're going to add some terrainify. So now this, so we can go like this. But I'm gonna stick to a very conservative terrainify here, just so that let me see if I can. So anyway, looks like this. And what we're going to do next is add some hills. So okay, what is the strategy for adding hills? I'm going to show you now how that works. So, by the way, I turned off my selector. You don't want to do that, so just make sure your things have the selection option turned on. That's my radiator, by the way, if you hear that. So if you have these selection things turned on, what you're going to see is so when you have them selected, or like let's say we group them, right? You're gonna see that this thing presents you the bones, you know? That actually makes it super easy to just select them and be like, okay, which one is which, right? So this is pretty cool that you can do this. It allows you to move them if you want to get rid of them or whatever. So we're actually going to use this to create slopes. So the first one here, we're going to increase the slope here to say 0.5. Actually, let's do 0.8. We're going to make it very steep, okay? Now you're going to select the 4 adjacent ones that you just did. So this is an adjacent one. And you select, oopsie, sorry. So this one, you're going to select the slope that connects it with the other one. You see that, how it connects like that? And you're going to choose a number that allows you to do it seamlessly. So here I chose a number 0.8, right? So instead of, oopsie, 0.8, instead of choosing a number like, you know, instead of just using the slider to just be like, hoo-hoo, instead of just going hoo-hoo like a crazy man like this, choose whole numbers, you know, 0.8, right? So that when you do the selection on these other ones, you're actually using whole numbers. Like here, it's 0.8, so that they connect together seamlessly. You're going to do the same thing with the other ones. So this is, what is it, 0.1? No. Slope 4? No, slope 3. All right, so that's slope 3. We're going to make this 0.8. And now we're selecting this one, selecting slope 2, I think. No, slope 4. All right, slope 4. A little bit of a guessing game between, you know, picking these things, as long as you choose the adjacents. Anyway, this is how you create a hill, and you could see this is a perfectly viable hill right here, fully seamless hill that you just created. Now you could do the strategy of well, okay, we'll get to that strategy in a moment. Now, so you have these 4 here, I think is the ones that I chose. So let's select them all. Now, 4, 6, 11, and 12. So let's say we group these. Just say we call this. This allows you to sort of, you know, quickly select the things, right? And let's just say we want to just flatten out the slopes a bit. We could do this. So this is the strategy I was talking about. You basically, when you make the hills, you can make them at maximum size, right? They at 1 for each of them or something like that, like this. And then later on, you could just flatten the slope, you know, like this, and sort of determine, okay, like which one you want to do. But once you've made the decision, you can't really go back with a preset. You can only do Control and Undo. You know, there's no preset to sort of bring them all up, because again, the order matters. As you saw as we constructed the hill, we had to sort of guess which order the thing is based off of, like, you know, the order basically matters. So I'm going to choose a slope like this, like right there or something. Now, what I like to do, this is just my personal preference. I like to just stick with the whole full number. You know, I like to stick with the number scheme like this, just 0.4 on the stuff, just so that if I want to change something later, I can kind of just know, like, okay, this is a whole number. It's not some crazy decimal, you know, that you have to copy over. And you could kind of just guess, like, oh yeah, this is like going to be 0.3, this is 0.4, that kind of thing. So okay, so that's how you make your terrain, and you basically just do that that workflow of just sticking the slopes up to however you want. And so that's an example. And if you look at the terrains made, if you look at the images made on the Smart Surfaces thing, that's how a lot of that stuff was made. Is exactly this workflow. Now I'm going to show you one last way to sort of do this. Let me just check my list here to make sure I talked about everything. Show how to make hills from slopes. Show how to make, oh, modularity. Okay, we'll do that. How to make combinations. All right, yeah. So, okay. We're going to go into another thing that you can do here, which I'm going to now bring in this. Oops, smart. So if we go to Cliffside, I'm going to bring in Cliffside for a moment. We're just going to increase the size. We're going to add our stuff to this. We're going to increase the thing. We're going to give it the same treatment as the things we did before. We're going to import the element of Cliffside and import the preset group. So it's this one, procedural preset / whatever. And now it has the same functionality as everything else. So we're going to make this big. Now let's do 0.4. So let's just say we wanted to make something. Actually, let's make it 0.2. Let's set it to 0 real quick and 0. All right, set this to 0 rotation. We're going to create a little system here. So we're going to mute this real quick. We're going to create a little system that goes like this. I wonder if it has to be the same. It should be seamless. 0, 100. Let's do 0, -400. -400. And now what you're going to do is we're going to do the same thing. We're going to make a terrainify thing here, like so, to give it a little cliff-like thing. And then we're going to add our slopes. So we're going to go slope 1. Let's do the maximum for each of them. So let's go here like this, here like this, and here like this. Now this is a completed hill, just like before, but it's got this sort of rocky interface to it. I'm actually going to make the displacement more like more rocky, like so. And now we have a little system here, which is just our rock hill. So what we're going to do actually is to place this within our scene build like this. So you could see we can kind of just create little additions and combinations to our scene builds to sort of give it this feature here of terrain, like so. All right, so we're going to place it that far down. And so we're going to create another set of them. So we're going to go like this, go like this. We're just going to sink it down right there. And now let's look at this with some actual lighting instead of cheap area lighting. Let's see. Can we turn this off? Yes, turn that off. So now here is our little terrain that we made quickly. So yeah, so that's an example of using this setup to sort of create the stuff that you want. And you could kind of like, we could flatten these. Oops. We could flatten these out if we wanted to sort of make them less there. And so yeah, this ability to sort of like create, this allows you to sort of mess with the ability to mess with the terrain. So I can make it flatter, like so, like this. Can I flatten the displacement? All right, let's do the displacement check like that. Now I can get a very flat looking sort of thing going on, but I can also get a very terrained look. Oops. I get a very terrained look if I like, you know, something like this. If I'm trying to go for a crag like setup, and then increase the displacement a little bit. So let's go like that. So yeah, we can do. So that's what the terrain. That's what smart surfaces can do. Is it allows you to really, you know, if you imagine a model and that model being smart, not dumb, that's what a smart model is, a smart surface. It allows you to make scene builds in a way that's very, very, very clever, if that makes sense. So it's very fun way to do a workflow that isn't restrictive, you know, which is the problem with current scene building is the very restrictive nature of like trying to hide seams and all this other shit. So that's what this kind of does for you, smart surfaces. Now there's one more thing I'm going to show before I cut this video off, because holy shit, it's been like an hour I've been talking. Is I'm going to show you just one more setup here for what you can do to sort of make combinations. And as more volumes come out, you're going to see the amount of combinations is going to increase as more get released and stuff like that. So here's how I made stones in that other previous animation. We're going to put this to 0.2. Now if we set this to the same, so I'm going to actually go here and mute the selection of the cliff. Now if we go to, actually let's take hill out of here. If we go here, why does it show that? That's so weird, man. Oh, did I do that? Oh, okay, my bad. All right, so we wanna group this together real quick. Turn the selection off. Now if we set this one, let's take this one for example. This has negative 400, 400, blah blah blah. So let's see if this actually works. I don't know if this works, copy pasting the transform. It does, it's a miracle. Okay, that's crazy. All right, so if we set this to exactly the setup of this thing, so if I just copy this actually, okay, it actually copies it exactly. So if you copy the thing of one and you apply it to a different smart surface like this, it'll typically work, you know, like this. And you could actually utilize this ability to sort of do this displacement trick to sort of go like this, and then you hit the modular key. And now what you have is you have a mixing of these two surfaces, and that's how you get these sort of rocks to appear on the side of this hill. This is actually quite clever. I noticed that you could do this with the tools, and you could kind of just, you know, that's a great way to sort of do a modular sort of idea with certain terrains. Is that you can sort of just make the modular, increase the make the modular, and the things will sort of take on a kind of like it'll have a property of doing this where you can sort of mix it really well with other types of terrains. It won't work for every single one, but for a lot of them, like say mud, for instance, well, you have to experiment with the combination space. There's probably a large combination space of how you can do combinations like this to sort of make interesting blends. And as more volumes come out, you know, more textures come out, more models, smart models, there's going to be a bigger space of like combinations to do this sort of thing. So let's end this video looking at the pretty render. So let's do this right now. So okay, this was a very long video. I'm sorry about that. But if you have any questions, feel free to join the Discord on the website, or you could just message me on Discord. That's like the best way to get in communication with me. Joining the Discord server, right? Not messaging me directly, but going to the Discord server, talking in there. I'll quickly answer as soon as possible if there's an issue. And so anyway, I greatly appreciate all the love and support that I've gotten so far with the tools and the scene builds. I honestly was just quite afraid of like what people would say, like if there was issues with anything. It's like, oh God, the complex stuff is always very prone to being like, if there's an issue, how catastrophic is it, but I had a lot of positive feedback, a lot of positive output from everybody, and that's very nice, actually. So I'm very surprised about that. So anyway, guys, thank you so much, and see you later.